Complex pediatric glaucoma. This is a beautiful college of ophthalmology and allied vision sciences where ophthalmologists and allied vision scientists, we work together for the better care of patients. Complex pediatric glaucoma is that glaucoma where you have challenges relating to diagnosis, severity, therapeutics, and compliance. So in that sense and by that definition, every pediatric glaucoma case is complex. Diagnostic challenges. So first of all, we would like to discuss the diagnostic challenges which make the glaucoma cases complex. False negative cases. This means that actually it's glaucoma, but it's missed, and by many healthcare providers, it's not labeled and it's not treated as a case of glaucoma. This is a typical scenario. ये थोड़े से hypothetical scenarios हैं जो मैंने अपने experience पे base करके, लेकिन इस scenario के पीछे hundreds and thousands of kids हैं. तस्वीरें भी मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा, पहले मैं आपको केस प्रेजेंट कर दूं. A 3-year-old boy who had bilateral congenital cataract surgery at 2 months of age developed increase in right eye size with subtle hazy cornea. There was no watering, photophobia or eye ache. He had myopic shift of right eye and was prescribed myopic glasses by nearby doctor at periphery. IOP and CD ratio were not checked, which were increased. He was a case of right aphakic glaucoma which was missed by local eye doctor. अच्छा, ये बड़ा कॉमन सिनेरियो होता है. आप सब लोग ये फेस करते होंगे कि पेशेंट से बातें हमारे पास रेफ़र होके सर्जरी वो करवा के अपने इलाके में वापस चले जाते हैं, और वहाँ जो भी लोकल प्रैक्टिशनर्स होते हैं वो जनरल ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट भी हो सकते हैं, वो PGRs भी हो सकते हैं, वो अलाइड हेल्थ वर्कर्स भी हो सकते हैं, और इवन वो GPs और इवन वो कोएक्स भी हो सकते हैं. सो मैनी टाइम्स क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि हमने सर्जरी करवा ली है, द जॉब इज़ डन, सो अब हम लोग जो है बिल्कुल सेफ़ हैं. सो आप फॉलो अप के लिए वो हमें रिपोर्ट नहीं करते, और जैसे भी हमने डिस्कस किए इससे पिछले सेशन में, मैनी ए टाइम देयर इज़ अ विंडो पीरियड जिसमें वो बिल्कुल ठीक रहते हैं, और उसके बाद साल 2-3 इवन 10 ईयर्स के बाद ग्लाकोमा डेवलप कर सकते हैं. सो दिस इज़ अ टिपिकल केस. ये देखें. सो इसमें अगर आप देखें तो राइट आई का सिर्फ साइज़ इंक्रीज़ है, इसमें कोई सवियर फोटोफोबिया नहीं था, इसमें कोई वाटरिंग नहीं थी, इसमें और ऐसी कोई कंप्लेंट नहीं थी. सो जो लोकल डॉक्टर है उसने IOP को और डिस्क एवेल्यूएशन को मिस किया, ग्लाकोमा था, प्रोग्रेस होता चला गया. सेकंड केस, बेसिकली इस वक्त हम वो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं केसेस जो ग्लाकोमा के केसेस थे और वो मिस हुए. A 2-year-old girl had persistent watering of both eyes. Both corneas had very subtle enlargement and haze, which were not noted. There was no itching and rubbing, no papillae, and regurgitation test was always negative. IOP and disc examination were missed and was treated for congenital nasolacrimal duct obstruction by some doctors, and others treated her for VKC. ये भी बड़ा कॉमन सीन है कि बच्चे को सटल चेंजेस होते हैं. प्रॉब्लम एक्चुअली होती ही वहाँ है. कॉम्प्लेक्स जो है ग्लाकोमा मेरे नज़दीक वो ग्लाकोमा जो मिस हो जाए और अल्टीमेटली वो एंड स्टेज पर चला जाए. सो जब सटल चेंजेस होते हैं तो हमेशा मिस होता है, मतलब हम हमेशा ये तवक्को रखते हैं वो मिस ही होगा. और जहाँ बहुत ऑब्वियस है, जैसे अभी ख्वाजा खालिद शुएब साहब ने अपनी पिछली प्रेजेंटेशन में आपको केसेस दिखाए थे, वो एंड स्टेज ग्लाकोमा थे, वो सीवियर फॉर्म ऑफ डिजीज़ थी. वो चीज़ ऐसी नहीं है जो मिस हो जाए. उसमें थेराप्यूटिक चैलेंजेस ज़रूर होते हैं जो हम डिस्कस करेंगे, लेकिन उसके अंदर डायग्नोस्टिक चैलेंजेस नहीं होते. डायग्नोस्टिक चैलेंजेस वहाँ होते हैं जहाँ बच्चे को कंजेंटल नेज़ोलैक्रिमल डक्ट ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन लेबल करके ट्रीट किया जा रहा होता है, और जहाँ उसको VKC बना के ट्रीट किया जा रहा होता है. अच्छा, on checking her IOP was 18-18 and CD ratio 0.8 in both eyes. She was a case of primary congenital glaucoma as was missed due to very subtle changes. ये देखिए, एकदम से तो शायद अगर हम लोग भी देखें और प्रॉपर इवेल्युएशन ना करें तो हम भी ये केस मिस कर जाएं. इसमें सिर्फ आपको वो थोड़ी सी आई रेड नज़र आ रही है, तो उसको भी VKC की वो करके या कंजेंटल नेज़ोलैक्रिमल डक्ट ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन की वजह से जो रीगर्जिटेशन की वजह से आई के अंदर थोड़ा सा कंजक्टिवाइटिस होता है, उसको टैग करके और इसको मिस कर दिया. A 3-year-old boy had photophobia of left eye, especially in sunlight, with mild eye watering, eye wetting, and slight corneal haze. He had minimal itching, no papillae, no foreign body. He was taking treatment for foreign body eye by some and eye allergies by others at periphery. On eye examination in Mayo Hospital, IOPD, left IOP was 20 and right IOP was 12. CD ratio was 0.7 in left and 0.3 in right eye. So इसमें टेक होम मैसेज ये है कि हल्का सा स्लाइड सा भी अगर फोटोफोबिया है, अगेन IOP डिस्क इवेल्युएशन, ग्लाकोमा के ऊपर नज़र रखने के लिए 2 चीज़ें आपने मिस नहीं करनी. सो जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे कि एडल्ट्स को जब आप आउटडोर में देखते हैं तो समटाइम्स आप 5 to 10 मिनट्स में उनको देख लेते हैं, लेकिन बच्चे को थॉरली और प्रॉपर तरीके से देखने के लिए यू नीड एटलीस्ट 25 to 30 मिनट्स. सो गिव देम टाइम, गिव देम टाइम, गिव देम टाइम. दिस इज द मैसेज. A 3-year boy was diagnosed with myopia of 3 ds, both eyes, which progressed to -5 ds, both eyes in 1 year time. So 1 साल में इसका myopia जो था वो 3 से 5 हो गया. He had bilateral subtle hazy and large corneas with watering. Watering was attributed to rapidly changing spectacle prescription. जब नंबर तेज़ी से चेंज हो रहा था, आजकल आपको पता है स्क्रीन्स का ज़माना है, बच्चे बहुत ज़्यादा स्क्रीन एडिक्टेड हैं, तो उसकी वजह से पेरेंट्स को लगता है कि शायद ये स्क्रीन एडिक्शन की वजह से प्राइमरी मायोपिया है और नंबर तेज़ी से बढ़ रहा है. और जब वो डॉक्टर्स के पास जाते हैं तो मैनी टाइम्स एक तो ये है कि वो डॉक्टर्स चूज़ ही नहीं करते, वो ऑप्टिशियन शॉप्स पे जाते हैं और ऑप्टिशियन शॉप्स वाले उनको सिंपल मायोपिक ग्लासेस दे के फारिग कर देते हैं. So disc and IOP were never evaluated. In ROPD both CDs were 0.8 and IOP 18 millimeter both eyes. This pediatric glaucoma was missed due to subtle changes and missed IOP. So rapidly progressing myopia, again check IOP, check disc. A 7-year boy with severe itching and red eyes presenting to our OPD. He was a known case of VKC and was on topical steroids for last 2 years. He had all features of VKC, but IOP and CD ratio were missed by local doctors, which were 24 millimeter of mercury both eyes and CD 0.9 both eyes. Again, a typical scenario जो हमने इससे पहले भी discuss किया है. Topical steroids were withdrawn and other anti-allergic and lifestyle modifications were advised. Over treatment with topical steroids is very, very common in VKC after intraocular and squint surgery also. उसमें भी बहुत steroids दिए जाते हैं. सो ये VKC का बच्चा जो स्टीरॉयड रिस्पॉन्डर था और ग्लाकोमा में कन्वर्ट हुआ, स्क्विंट सर्जरी हुई है उसके बाद. अच्छा, ये बच्चा हमारे पास आउटडोर में आया, ये तकरीबन 7 मंथ से स्टीरॉयड्स लिए जा रहा था. जब हमने उससे पूछा कि आप इतनी देर से क्यों यूज़ कर रहे हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा कि हम जब भी किसी लोकल डॉक्टर के पास, सर्जरी के बाद लोकल डॉक्टर के पास जाते थे, और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वो ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट नहीं होते थे, वो GPs होते थे, तो वो हमें कोई ना कोई स्टीरॉयड ड्रॉप्स या ऑइंटमेंट्स दे देते थे रेडनेस कम करने के लिए. फॉल्स पॉजिटिव केसेस. सो ये वो केसेस हैं which are actually not glaucoma but they were labeled as glaucoma. A 1-year-old boy with big corneas and off and on mild watering was treated for glaucoma by local practitioner. Parents were insisting about his excellent visual behavior, so they came to us for expert opinion. So पेरेंट्स को ये भी एक बात बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप पेरेंट्स से अगर आप प्रॉपर हिस्ट्री लें तो पेरेंट्स आमतौर पर आपको प्रॉपर हिस्ट्री देते हैं, ठीक बताते हैं, और उनकी जो परसेप्शन अपने चाइल्ड के बारे में होती है वो अक्सर ठीक होती है. सिर्फ आपको हिस्ट्री लेने का आर्ट आना चाहिए. सो दे वर वरीड के मतलब हमें तो लगता नहीं है कि इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है, विजुअल बिहेवियर इज एक्सीलेंट. सो ये सेकंड ओपिनियन के लिए आया. तो IOP and disc were normal both eyes and a diagnosis of megalocornea was made and AGT was, anti-glaucoma therapy was withdrawn. So ये anti-glaucoma therapy लिए जा रहा था. ये देखें टिपिकल megalocornea केस. तो अगेन आपको पता कैसे लगेगा IOP डिस्क. ऑल दो बाकी से मैंने कहा सारी चीज़ें ही इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि IOP बेसिकली सब कुछ ही प्रॉब्लम प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है, लेकिन जो 2 चीज़ें आप इजीली आराम से कर सकते हैं वो ये है कि आप IOP देख लें, डिस्क देख लें. इट हार्डली टेक्स अगर आप थोड़ा सा अपने आप को ट्रेन कर लें, एंड यू ऑल आर ट्रेन्ड पीपल, तो 2-3 मिनट्स में ये काम हो जाता है. A 1-year-old girl with bilateral epiphora and photophobia was treated by local practitioner and was given anti-glaucoma therapy when she landed to our Mayo Hospital OPD for second opinion. Bilateral re-GERD test was positive. IOP and CD ratio were normal. Probing stringing were carried out and anti-glaucoma therapy omitted. She remained fine later on. अब ये देखिए बेसिकली जो हमारे ट्रेंड, असल में हमारी जो जंग है, जो डिज़ीज़ के ख़िलाफ़ हमारी जंग है, उसमें हमारे आप सब लोग पार्टनर्स हैं, लेकिन कुछ हमारे ओपोनेंट्स भी हैं. जैसे फैमिली के कुछ आपसे आने, हर फैमिली के अंदर कुछ ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग ओपिनियन मेकर्स होते हैं और वो आपकी अच्छी भली ओपिनियन को डिनाई कर देते हैं. और उसकी वजह से मदर समटाइम्स दे वांट टू स्टिक टू योर ट्रीटमेंट प्लान, लेकिन वो जो फैमिली मेंबर्स होते हैं या कोएक्स होते हैं या सियाने होते हैं, वो इतने ज़्यादा इन्फ्लुएंशियल होते हैं कि वो बच्चे को कहते हैं कि नहीं, डॉक्टर गलत कह सकता है, ये सियाना गलत नहीं कह रहा, तो सियाने की बात माननी है. A 7 years boy who was being treated for glaucoma by local doctor at Periphery came to our OPD for expert opinion. He had symmetrical bilateral CD ratio of 0.6/0.7, which was suspicious. IUP, cornea, and refractive status were normal, and other family members, parents and siblings, had same shape of the disc. He was labeled a case of familial different variant of disc and was advised follow-up, and anti-glaucoma therapy was withdrawn. तो हमने इसको क्लोज फॉलो अप पे रखा, जो बाद में ये ठीक ही रहा. सो ये फेमिलियल केस था ऑफ डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ डिस्क. ये देखें, मॉनिटर और मेडिकेट. सो मॉनिटर. अब सिवेरिटी चैलेंजेस, ये तो वो चैलेंज है जिसमें आपको डायग्नोसिस में इश्यूज हो रहे थे. अब सिवेरिटी चैलेंजेस स्पेशली सेकेंडरी ग्लाकोमास में बहुत होते हैं. सिवियर फॉर्म ऑफ डिजीज, secondary glaucoma secondary to ocular anomalies like aniridia, anterior segment dysgenesis, aniridia and anterior segment dysgenesis, glaucoma secondary to systemic disease, Sturge-Weber, neurofibromatosis. ये देखें न्यूरोफाइब्रोमाटोसिस भी है इसका, और ये देखें डिस्क उठाएं तो ये देखें डिस्क एनलार्ज भी है और ये हेजी भी है. लोई सिंड्रोम, other secondary glaucoma secondary to trauma, uveitis and steroid use, uveitic glaucoma, trauma, hyphema, और ये steroid use after VKC. So therapeutic challenges, therapeutic challenges जो हैं वो क्या हैं जी? IOP कंट्रोल. अच्छा, एक बात आप सब लोगों के लिए टेक होम मैसेज होगा, मेरी ख्वाहिश है कि आप सब लोग इसको ज़रूर इम्पोर्टेंस दें. हमारे आज के लेक्चर की जो टारगेट ऑडियंस है वो बेसिकली पीडियाट्रिक ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट नहीं है. दे आर बेसिकली जनरल ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट, दे बेसिकली PGRs, क्योंकि ये वो हैं जो बडिंग ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट हैं और इन सब लोगों ने पेरिफ्रीज में भी और इधर अर्बन एरियाज़ में भी सर्व करना है. जो पीडियाट्रिक ऑफ्थल्मोलॉजिस्ट हैं दे आर ऑल अवेयर ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, लेकिन जो हमारे नए बच्चे हैं जो PGRs हैं, समटाइम्स दे मिस दीज थिंग्स. सो उनके लिए है ये जो IOP है, वो मेन प्रॉब्लम है, मेन चीज़ है जो आप कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं ग्लाकोमा में. लेकिन उसके अलावा भी इट्स मोर देन दैट. बड़ों के अंदर जो IOP कंट्रोल हो गया, मोस्ट ऑफ द जॉब इज़ डन. लेकिन बच्चों के अंदर इट्स नॉट ओनली कॉर्निया. सो इसके लिए एक मैं अपने स्टूडेंट्स को बताता होता हूँ क्लियर अप्रोच: कॉर्नियल केयर, लेंस केयर, IOP कंट्रोल, एम्ब्लायोपिया एंड रिफ्रैक्टिव स्टेटस एंड रिफ्रैक्टिव केयर. सो ये 5 फ्रंट्स हैं जिस पे हमने फाइट करना है. इट्स नॉट ओनली IOP. अच्छा जी, सो थेराप्यूटिक चेंजेस रिलेटिंग टू IOP कंट्रोल, तो वही ट्रेबिक्लॉटमीज और ट्रैब्स आप करेंगे, ग्लाकोमा ड्रेनेज डिवाइसेस, माइक्रोपल्स डायोड लेज़र एंड अल्टीमेटली साइक्लोक्रायो इफ एवरीथिंग फेल्स. लेकिन इनमें से सब कुछ ना कुछ अगर टाइमली इंटरवेंशन कर ली जाए तो अक्सर बच्चे जो हैं वो सेव हो जाती है उनकी भी है. सो ये ट्रैब हुई हुई है, ये ग्लाकोमा ड्रेनेज डिवाइसेस हैं डिफरेंट, जिसमें से हम लोग ज़्यादा अहमद ग्लाकोमा वाल्व यूज़ करते हैं. माइक्रोपल्स ट्रांसक्लेरल्स लेज़र, साइक्लोक्रायो. अच्छा जी, कॉर्नियल मैनेजमेंट. कॉर्नियल मैनेजमेंट में आपने करना क्या है जी? केयर ऑफ कॉर्नियल क्लैरिटी करनी है, विच वी कैन अचीव थ्रू एंटी ग्लाकोमा थेरेपी एंड हाइपरटोनिक सलाइन ड्रॉप्स. केयर ऑफ कॉर्नियल पावर करनी है थ्रू मायोपिक एंड एस्टिग्मेटिक स्पेक्टिकल्स, एंड केयर ऑफ कॉर्नियल ड्राइनेस करनी है थ्रू लुब्रिकेंट्स एंड टीयर सब्सिट्यूट्स. सो सिर्फ IOP नहीं. लेंस मैनेजमेंट करनी है जी. इन बच्चों के अंदर मैनी टाइम्स ड्यू टू मैनी रीजंस को एग्जिस्टिंग कैटरेक्ट भी हो सकता है और स्टीरॉइड्स की वजह से पोस्टीरियर सब कैप्सुलर कैटरेक्ट भी हो सकता है. और जब आप सर्जरी करते हैं तो अगर टच हो जाती है आपकी लेंस या उसकी करंट्स भी डिस्टर्ब होती हैं तो उससे भी कैटरेक्ट आ जाता है. सो कैटरेक्ट सर्जरी, फिज कैटरेक्ट एंड मैनेजमेंट ऑफ लेंस सबलक्सेशन एंड डिसलोकेशन. जब आई का साइज इंक्रीज हो रहा होता है, सो न्यूज़ टूट रहे होते हैं, तो मैनी टाइम्स ये बच्चे जो हैं ये सबलक्सेशन और डिसलोकेशन के साथ भी प्रेजेंट करते हैं. रिफ्रैक्टिव मैनेजमेंट, हाई रिफ्रैक्टिव एरर करेक्शन, एम्ब्लायोपिया ट्रीटमेंट. अब आगे जी कंप्लायंस चैलेंजेस. कंप्लायंस चैलेंजेस की जो टेक होम मैसेज आप लोगों के लिए वो है काउंसलिंग काउंसलिंग काउंसलिंग। अच्छी पेरेंटल काउंसलिंग हुई हो जिसमें आपने डिजीज़ की नेचर बताई हो, अपना मैनेजमेंट प्लान बताया हो, पॉसिबल कॉम्प्लिकेशंस बताई हों, और एंड स्टेज ग्लाकोमा के बच्चों की कोई तस्वीरें उनको दिखा दी हों, तो दे स्टिक टू योर ट्रीटमेंट प्लान्स. So compliance challenges may overlooking by parents and not using anti-glaucoma therapy and not coming for treatment and surgery to qualified ophthalmologists. सोशल टैबूज, इन दोनों जो फर्स्ट दो हैं इनकी मेन रीजंस फैमिली के इन्फ्लुएंशियल मेंबर्स भी होते हैं, उनके अपने भी कुछ डिफरेंट आइडियाज़ होते हैं, तो ये अच्छी काउंसलिंग से वी कैन काउंटर दैट. एंड गोइंग फॉर ट्रीटमेंट टू क्वैक्स एंड डिनायल ऑफ डिजीज बाय लेस एजुकेटेड एंड इन्फ्लुएंशियल फैमिली मेंबर्स. सो टेक होम मैसेजेस: वेरी वाइज एंड कंट्रोल यूज़ ऑफ स्टीरॉइड्स. स्टीरॉइड्स का प्लीज़ कम से कम यूज़ करें. एवरी जिक्सॉ पीस इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट टू मेक पिक्चर ऑफ पीडियाट्रिक ग्लाकोमा. किसी एक चीज़ को पकड़ने से ग्लाकोमा आपका नहीं पकड़े जाना. सो आपने ग्लाकोमा के लिए जिक्सॉ पीसेस सब के सब इकट्ठे करने हैं, एंड देन यू विल बी एबल टू सी अ क्लियर पिक्चर. नेवर मिस IOP एंड डिस्क evaluation. Must do corneal, lens, refractive and amblyopia care in addition to IOP control. So clear approach. Keep an eye on compliance. Good and constant counseling of parents. Every case of pediatric glaucoma is complex and need multitasking. आप सब लोग इससे एग्री करेंगे जो pediatric glaucoma को डील करते हैं कि ये सारे वो challenges हैं जो आप सबको फेस करने पड़ते हैं. So every case of glaucoma is complex. Thank you, uncles and aunties, for keeping me safe. Thank you. Dr. Ziad. The next speaker is Professor Seema Qayyum. She needs no introduction, and she will give a talk on congenital cataract, multiple fronts to conquer.
Thank you, Ashwin. He always takes the easy task. I need no introduction, and he never introduces me. I will be talking about congenital cataract and will try to cover all the aspects of congenital cataract in the given assigned 7 to 8 minutes, and I will try to do my best. ये चला दो बेटे. वो चलाना भी नहीं चाहता, वो कहते बहुत बोल दी. Okay, so the topic is multiple fronts to conquer, and yes, it is. Congenital cataract is not like adult cataracts. We have to fight on multiple fronts. Adult cataract, as I would always say, when I was doing my ophthalmology training and mostly seeing adult patients, तो भाई बाबा जी आए, उनको cataract हो गया, आपने आज operate करा, अगले दिन पट्टी उतारी था, बात ख़त्म. The patient started seeing, and that's it. And then you can sort of a छोटा मोटा follow up करा, और वैसे बाबा जी को जो बच्चे लेकर आए थे उन्होंने आपका शुक्रिया अदा करा, and that's it. But with the congenital cataract, the scenario is entirely different. A child walks in, the parents walks in, and usually जो congenital cataract के जो बच्चे होते हैं और उनके जो parents होते हैं, they are young couples. And by young couples I mean पाकिस्तान में हो सकता है 18 साल की माँ हो और 22 साल का बाप हो. So obviously they've just married, they have they just married. अभी तो honeymoon period ख़त्म नहीं हुआ था कि बच्चा हो गया तो पता लगा उसको congenital cataract label कर दिया. So you can well imagine the dilemma with these young parents have to face when they are dealing with a child with congenital cataract. The social taboo, the societal pressure, the family pressure, the pressure of the in-laws. I have had patients जिसमें बच्चे को congenital cataract हुआ, दूसरे बच्चे को भी cataract हुआ, और most of the time, I'm not gender biased, but most of the time, the blame that has been laid upon the mother, and I have seen mothers who have been thrown out of their houses with their kids who have got congenital cataract, or along with developmental delay or things like that. पहले cousin marriage हो जाती है, and वो 18 या 20 या 22 साल की एक छोटी सी बच्ची होती है जो शायद कॉलेज और यूनिवर्सिटी जानी चाहिए थी या घर में आराम से रहना चाहिए था. सो दीज आर जो मल्टीपल फ्रंट्स अब डॉक्टर से ज़्यादा उन पेरेंट्स से फेस करने होते हैं. So you can't give up, but you can't give up on something because the situation is not ideal. We have to work in those circumstances, and we have to make the situation ideal. So better not, don't give up. So whenever a child, as जैसे अशल ने भी अभी बात करी थी कि whenever the parents walk in, ask questions and ask questions, because आपके उन सवालों के बाद जो वो parents आपको जवाब देंगे उसमें ही सारी कहानी छुपी हुई है. And you know, like the patient's caregiver is a specialist in and has special knowledge about the child. अगर माँ कहती है मेरा बच्चा नहीं देखता तो बच्चा नहीं देखता, अगर माँ कहती है मेरा बच्चा देखता है तो वो देखता है. अगर बहुत सारे पेशेंट्स ऐसे आते हैं वो कहते हैं कि जी बच्चे को स्क्विंट है, तो द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन आई ऑलवेज आस्क इज कि तुम्हें लगता है या घर वाले कहते हैं या रिश्तेदार और मोहल्ले वाले कहते हैं. अगर माँ कहते नहीं मुझे तो नहीं लगता, तो थोड़ा सा मतलब यू नो लाइक I always trust and I always believe the mother, because the mother knows the best in most of the circumstances. Then the second बात है कि you have to identify the associated problem, क्योंकि cataract usually बच्चों में in isolation नहीं होता. As I always used to tell my students कि जो बच्चा है वो आँख प्लेट में नहीं लेकर आया, it is in a body, and there are systemic associations, there are other ocular associations with cataract. So सिर्फ congenital cataract को in isolation आपने deal नहीं करना, you have to identify the associated problem. So the multiple associated ocular anomalies, which you can see, this is a patient with aniridia, partial aniridia. Then again, I would show these are my own cases. The lens का coloboma था, along with cataract, and this was a whole family. The father had coloboma and aniridia, sibling, 4 बच्चे थे, चारों को similar problem. See, this was a family of aniridia. Then again, this is iris hypoplasia होता है जब आप you know there are surprises lying there when you're on the microscope. आप बहुत आराम जाते हैं microscope पर बैठते हैं, and then multiple surprises. You just cannot take it कि मैंने सोचा था कि आज मैं जाके cataract की surgery करूँगा, everything is going to go fine. No, it is not so. Sometimes you will see the vasculature in the iris vascularized होगा, आपने touch करा, bleeding शुरू हो गई. Sometimes you will see कि the posterior capsule है होता ही नहीं. There's so many times that there is no posterior capsule, और आप ये सोचते रहते हैं कि मैंने कब इसको छेड़ा था और ये कहाँ गायब हो गया. So then there are times when the pupil is not going to dilate, as I said before, कि ज़रूर एक दिन पहले जब एग्जामिन करो तो pupils को देखो, उसको dilating drops डाल के do check whether the pupil is dilating or not, whether it is responding to your dilating drops, because on the table if it does not dilate, then sometimes I've seen patient, I think जब उनके वो forgotten the name of mind मेरे जहन से निकल है वो जो ओल्ड एज, वो लेकिन आयरिस जो है अटैच होता है कैटरेक्ट लेंस के साथ. नो नॉट द पीटर्स, वो जो अटैचमेंट्स होती हैं persistent something intravascular, वो when you have to cut it around. See, the old age is catching up. So you are in for surprises. Then identify associated systemic problem, because most of the time cataract, again I said, it is not alone. Peel-Masher-Sané syndrome, a typical case, short height, stubby fingers, and you know, like this was a patient with dislocated lens and cataractus lens. Then again, this is a patient ectodermal dysplasia, because skin, और मुझे इतनी embryology याद नहीं, लेकिन lens और skin कहीं से एक ही layer से बने थे. तो अगर आपके patient को जो है skin की involvement है, be very careful, because जब आप इसका cataract करेंगे तो इनको inflammatory reaction बहुत ज़्यादा होगा, और ये inflammatory reaction आपको, I mean there will be inflammation, there will be Seineke formation. So preemptly, when you're planning for the surgery, then you have to give them preoperative anti-inflammatory steroidal as well as non-steroidal, and do consult a dermatologist. Sometimes उनकी जो dermatological condition है, जो dermatologist को treat कर रहा होता है, तो they usually put them on the steroids, and then they are very helpful when you're planning your cataract surgery. And it is not a bad idea कि आप उनको primary IOL implantation ना करें. सिर्फ on the first stage you do an irrigation aspiration, and if the skin disease is severe, avoid putting an IOL on the first attempt, and then you can do a secondary IOL depending upon how the situation is. So you have to vary, or इनकी skin, there बहुत telltale signs होते हैं, you cannot miss them. You just have to have an open eye. Again, this is a patient with ichthyosis, and you can see the cataract भी थोड़े funny से होते हैं, so they do not respond very well. Also, your surgical manipulation will be different होती है. Then there are patients with digital abnormalities, and they always fit into syndromes. I don't know the name of the syndrome, but this patient had syndactyly. And again, अगर आपने cataract कर तो दिया, लेकिन do refer this child to a pediatrician to rule out any other associated, because we are not that good in those syndromes. हमें इतने नाम नहीं आते, we are not good at examining. I will frankly say कि I am not good at examining a child systemically. मुझे नहीं पता, heart sound में इतनी अच्छी नहीं सुनूंगी, मैं कोई और चीज़, मुझे इन बच्चों की हियरिंग भी चेक करा लें, इनके हार्ट को भी चेक करा लें, इनको सब कुछ को ज़रूर चेक कराएं. Don't, again I will say, don't take this cataract in isolation. एंड दिस इज़ विद द सरप्राइज, क्योंकि ये जो बच्चा लिपटा लिपटाया आया होता है तो आपने उसके हाथ पाँव नहीं देखे होते, तो दिस वाज माय वेरी इनिशियल ईयर्स. एंड देन जब टेबल पर लेटा बच्चा और वो कपड़े में से बाहर निकला तो पता लगा देवर लिमन एब्नॉर्मैलिटीज, देवर डिजिटल एब्नॉर्मैलिटीज. सो अगेन यू नो लाइक वी मिस्ड अपॉन इट. येस, आई विल एग्री, आई विल एक्सेप्ट दैट आई मिस्ड अपॉन इट प्रायर टू द सर्जरी. वो लिपटा लिपटा बच्चा देखा, लाइट टॉर्च की लाइट मारी और देखा वाह 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 कैटरैक्ट है, मैच्योर कैटरैक्ट है, चलो जिसको करो. सो अगेन यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल. Then again, this is a child with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is very common. When I did not join before joining to Children's Hospital, I thought कि ये सारे जो बीमारियाँ होती हैं किताबों में होती हैं और हम तो बड़ी blessed कौम है और हमें कोई syndrome और कोई किसी किस्म की disease नहीं होती. But then that was I was living in a false paradise, because day one से when I started Children's Hospital to the last date, जितनी ज़िंदगी में मैंने syndromes और जितनी अजीब अजीब किस्म की बीमारियाँ देखी हैं, you name it and I have seen it. And I always used to say, मैं हमेशा सोचती थी कि I joined ophthalmology कि it is a ब्यूटीफुल स्पेशलिटी, बड़ा खूबसूरत सा काम है, कैटरैक्ट की सर्जरी भी करेंगे तो वाह क्या फ़ाइन है कि आपने कोई ब्लीडिंग नहीं होनी, कोई कुछ नहीं होना, तो साफ़ सुथरा तमीज़दार किस्म का काम है. पता लगा चिल्ड्रन हॉस्पिटल में दाखिल होते सारी तमीज़ ख़त्म हो गई. आपको यू गेट टू सी सो मैनी सिंड्रोम. आई हैव सीन ये जो स्टीवन जॉनसन, अ वेरी बैड स्टीवन, मतलब आई हैव सीन अनयूजुअल टाइप ऑफ ट्रॉमा जो कि आपके मतलब 14 तबक रोशन हो जाते हैं. बाद में पता लगा कि अंग्रेज़ों ने किताबें हमारे लिए लिखी थी, सारे सिंड्रोम्स हमारे पास होते हैं. सो फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग आई थॉट कि डाउन्स हमारे यहाँ कॉमन नहीं होता, बट आई हैव सीन सो मैनी चिल्ड्रन विद डाउन सिंड्रोम, दैट अनइमेजिनेबल नंबर ऑफ डाउन सिंड्रोम. सो बी वेरी केयरफुल अबाउट इट, क्योंकि इन बच्चों को कैटरैक्ट की सर्जरी करने के बाद ही आपका काम ख़त्म नहीं हो जाता. दे नीड अ डेवलपमेंटल पीडियाट्रिशियन, दे नीड अ डेवलपमेंट असेसमेंट, दे नीड पूरा एक टीम वर्क इनको चाहिए टू ब्रिंग दीज चिल्ड्रन बैक टू द मेन स्ट्रीम लाइन एंड मेक देम फंक्शनल. Then again, you have to be very careful about infection because antenatal infections and cataract, this can happen. Rubella syndrome. And I mean, there are so many children जो आते हैं rubella के patients होते हैं, cardiac associations होती हैं, इनकी hearing associations होती हैं, their heart, उनको glaucoma होता है, इनकी corneal clouding होती है, you know, they all messed up. So again, whenever you're dealing with a child or do get a torch test done and identify कि अगर ये rubella है तो they should again be going to the hearing assessment, they should be going to a cardiologist, they should be again going to a developmental pediatrician because ये बच्चे developmental delay भी होते हैं, and कुछ unfortunate बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं जिनको cataract भी होता है, glaucoma भी होता है और उनको they are deaf also. So I always, I mean, there was a very very famous Indian movie where there was Amitabh Bachchan and the girl who was blind and who was deaf, and he was the, so I have a patient like that. I have a patient like that, the child had rubella and she had cataract and she's hard of hearing, and she's like now about 18 to 20 years old, and the mother has died, the father has died, and there's no one there to look after her. So, you know, there are very unfortunate stories which go around. So then an appreciation of the possible etiologies will facilitate the detection of treatable causes before formation of permanent cataract, because there are certain cataracts, metabolic disorders होते हैं जिनमें because of the up and down of the enzymes and levels cataract बनना शुरू हो जाता है. अगर वो वक्ती तौर पे कंट्रोल हो जाए, टाइमली कंट्रोल हो जाए, तो the cataract जो revert back भी कर जाता है before that. So you have to identify those cases. Now this is like Wilson disease, the sunflower cataract. The patients who walk in, they have chorea, and they usually come from the gastro department, and for the KF ring, and sometimes when you're only looking for the KF ring, you will also find the sunflower cataract. And it is not as beautiful as the sunflower around, but you can really identify it. Then again, this is the oil droplet cataract, which is a very telltale cataract, which is seen in galactosemia. और अगर ये galactosemia अगर timely diagnosis हो जाए, तो whatever the medications with management, the cataract can go back. I had a patient who was bilateral cataract. We operated on the first time. We operated, and I was very naive at that time. And then अगले हफ्ते वो पेशेंट कहीं चला गया. यूजली हमारा प्रोटोकॉल ये है कि विद इन अ वीक्स टाइम सेकंड कैटरैक्ट कर लेते हैं. द पेशेंट came back after 2 to 3 months, and I asked what happened, why you did not come. She said I was going to the gastro department, and you know, like, अब जब दोबारा देखा तो दूसरी आँख में कैटरैक्ट ही नहीं था. अब समझ में नहीं आया, बहुत सोचा कि पहले गलत लिखा था, किसी ने गलत देखा था. बेसिकली he had galactosemia, and because the galactosemia was managed there, so these cataracts can be avoided. Then again, identify and treat any condition which can be associated with post-op endophthalmitis. But prior to embarking upon the surgery, you have to look into that as well. And this is whenever you see such a picture, when there is NLD blockage and regurgitation positive है, sticky discharge हो रहा है, तो if you're planning for planning for cataract surgery, get a culture done so as to rule out the presence of MRSA, because this is it is very non-forgiving. और अगर ये होगा तो बाद में आपका cataract होगा और endophthalmitis में आप land up कर सकते हैं. So now एक और dilemma जो आता है, although we have moved forwards and very advanced, but again, should you operate as soon as the child presents at the clinic, or should you be waiting? So you have to look into so many things, whether it is the age of the child, the density of the cataract, the type of the cataract, the etiology of the cataract, multiple factors. You have to also definitely think about the post-op complications, and you have to balance कि amblyopia नहीं करते, देर से करते हैं तो amblyopia, जल्दी करते हैं तो complications. You have to weigh and balance. There is no tailor-made. हर एक के लिए one rule does not set for everyone. You just have to tailor made it. हर एक का अपना size, अपनी मैनेजमेंट प्लान, हर पेशेंट इंडिविजुअल है. एंड आई मीन अगर मैं ये बात कहूँ तो मैं गलत नहीं कह रही हूँ. जितने अपनी ज़िंदगी में मैंने कैटरैक्ट किए हैं, मैंने कोई कैटरैक्ट एक से दूसरा कभी रिपीट होते नहीं देखा. हर दफ़ा कसम खुदा के एक नया किस्म का कैटरैक्ट आता है. व्हेन यू आर डूइंग द सर्जरी, व्हेन यू आर ऑन द माइक्रोस्कोप, इट इज़ एंटायरली डिफरेंट सिनेरियो. व्हेन यू आर डीलिंग विद द पेशेंट, इट्स एन एंटायरली डिफरेंट सिनेरियो. हर दफ़ा आप समझते हैं नाउ आई हैव मास्टर्ड इट, नाउ आई हैव डन एवरीथिंग व्हिच कुड बी डन, एंड देन इट इज़ नॉट सो. वो ज़ेब पीछे से बैठ के सर हिला रही है, शी जस्ट joined the children's hospital and she agrees, she knows what I'm talking about, because every cataract the surgery आप करें, it is not the same. Every patient, the post-op follow-up is not the same. So you have to be on your guards, on your toes all the time. Then again, identify and treat any condition which can be associated with post-op endophthalmitis. Now again, the most important thing is warn the parents that you are going to be with us for a very, 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 very long time. It's not that you have to ask them, you have to counsel them, you have to tell them कि आज आप cataract करा देंगे तो आपने बार-बार तो मेरे पास आना ही है. I always ask the question कि अगर आप बहुत दूर से आते हैं और अगर आप follow-up पर नहीं आ सकते तो प्लीज़ वहीं से cataract करवाइए जहाँ हम दोबारा जा सकते हैं, फिर यहाँ पर मत आइए. और अगर यहाँ आना है तो हलफ उठाइए कि आपने बार-बार आना ही आना है, because otherwise आपकी सारी मेहनत ज़ाया चली जाती है. So learn the art of communication and building trust. जब तक you will not build a trust with the parents, nothing is going to happen. And this building of trust is not just the parents, it is the family. And there is a Mamu syndrome in our country. Most of the time Mamus come, they bring the children. फुप्पो के बारे में तो मैं बहुत तल्ख हूँ. मैं भी फुप्पो हूँ अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, लेकिन मैं बहुत तल्ख हूँ. पढ़ी लिखी फुप्पो से तो बिल्कुल बेहतर है कि बिल्कुल ही पीछे रखो उसको. मैं भी पढ़ी लिखी फुप्पो, बाय द वे आई ऑल्सो हैव 2 भतीजे. लेकिन येस, फुप्पोज आर वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू डील विद. मामू बेचारे मासूम से आते हैं, मजबूरी में होते हैं, लेकिन मामू सिंड्रोम होता है. वो मामू में द ओनली आई ऑलवेज टेल देम कि ये मामू ने बाद में आपके बच्चों को नहीं देखा, आज तो वो आपको ले आया. सो मदर हैज़ टू कम इनसाइड. समटाइम्स यंग मदर वो 18 साल 20 साल 22 साल वाली बाहर बैठी होती है, अंदर या तो माँ आई होती है या सास आई भी होती है. और पहला जुमला ये होता है वो पागल चाहिए, उन्हें कुछ नहीं पता. तो वो जो पागल जी होती है ना, आज दिन उस पागल जी से शादी नहीं करनी चाहिए थी. अब पागल नहीं रही, अब वो कलमा दोगे, ब्रिंग हर इनसाइड, बिकॉज यू हैव टू डील विद द मदर. यू हैव टू टेल देम. आई ऑलवेज टेल देम ये मामू दिखा के चला जाएगा और ये अपने घर चला जाएगा. देखना तो आपने है, संभालना तो आपने है, बरतना तो आपने है, भुगतना तो आपने है. सो यू हैव टू एंड यू हैव टू कॉल द मदर इनसाइड. यू हैव टू टॉक टू द मदर एंड एट टाइम्स येस यू हैव टू कॉल द फादर एज वेल, बिकॉज दोनों की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, दोनों ने इसको बेयर करना है, दोनों ने एक दूसरे को फैसिलिटेट करना है. सो लर्न द आर्ट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, लर्न द आर्ट ऑफ बिल्डिंग ट्रस्ट. एंड देन जब आपने एक दफ़ा सर्जरी कर ली तो दूसरा जो फ्रंट है जो वो आपके लिए ओपन हो जाता है, विच इज़ फाइटिंग विद द एम्ब्लायोपिया. इट इज़ आपने बहुत बेहतरीन नीट सर्जरी कर ली, लेकिन अगर आपने उसको फॉलोअप पर नहीं रखा, अगर IOL नहीं डाला तो उसको ग्लासेस नहीं दिए, अगर हर फॉलोअप पर उसको रिफ्रैक्ट नहीं करा, उसकी विजुअल असेसमेंट नहीं करी, तो you've lost the game, you've done nothing. Actually then you have actually not, you've done nothing. और ये जो एक मिथ है कि बच्चे ऐनक नहीं पहनते, बच्चे बहुत बेहतरीन ऐनक पहनते हैं और बड़े आराम से पहनते हैं. और मदर्स जो होती हैं, जो diligent mothers होती हैं, they figure out ways and means of making their children how to wear the glasses. Then yes, the long follow-up, दिस इज़ माई पेशेंट जो बहुत था, अभी बड़ा हो गया माशाल्लाह, और अब ये इससे भी बड़ा हो गया, ये बहुत पुरानी तस्वीर है ये तस्वीर भी 5 साल पुरानी है, अब ये और भी बड़ा हो गया। सो द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग इज़ ये कि आपने जब बच्चे को लेकर आपने, एंड देन मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग विच यू शुड नेवर फॉरगेट व्हेन यू आर डूइंग अ कंजेनिटल कैटरैक्ट, कि वो हो सकता है उसका पहला बच्चा हो, और उसके बाद आपने उसको बार बार बुला के उसके अगले पैदा होने वाले बच्चों को भी देखना है। आई हैव फैमिलीज जिनका हमने पहले बच्चे का किया, फिर हमने दूसरे बच्चे का किया, फिर हमने तीसरे बच्चे का किया, फिर हमने चौथे बच्चे का किया, 5वें पे उससे माजरत कर ली कि तुम्हें मैं पुलिस में दे दूँगी। सो एंड देन दे कम बैक विद यू नो, एक फैमिली हमारे पास आती है जो उनकी दो बहन भाई दो आते हैं, और वो जब आते थे वो बेचारे बाहर छुप जाते थे, हर दफ़ा उनको डांट पड़ती थी, क्योंकि मैं भूल जाती थी कि मैंने पिछली दफ़ा भी उसको यही सारी बातें सुनाई थी। मतलब ये 5 उसके बच्चे, 4 उसकी बहन के बच्चे, तकरीबन 8 या 9 बच्चे वो इकट्ठे एक आउटडोर में लेकर आता था। सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हेन यू आर फॉलोइंग ए पेशेंट, व्हेन यू आर डूइंग अ कैटरैक्ट, you not only have to follow the child, you have to follow the family, because siblings would have cataract. They are a very big possibility because of her cousin marriages, because of her caste marriages, you know, multiple factors. हमारे यहाँ caste marriage की वजह से glaucoma बहुत ज़्यादा families, I've seen families of glaucoma, there are caste intercaste marriages. So you know, we have families of congenital cataract. So simply just doing one cataract is no fun. और फिर another important question is sometimes they bring their sons and they do not bring their girls. Although this has changed a lot now, over the years this has changed a lot. I would not say कि हमारे माँ बाप इतने बुरे हैं कि बेटियों को नहीं देखते, बट ओकेजनल एक आधा केस ऐसा आता है कि आपको सवाल अगर पूछे तो कभी कभी पता लगता है यदि बड़ी बहन को भी था, उसको भी था, तो देन एक शर्त हम लगा देती थी, मैं एक शर्त लगाती थी कि ये बच्चा जब देखा जाएगा जब इसकी बहन भी घर से आएगी, तो उस वक्त मैं वो मेरी एक शर्त होती, तो आई यूज्ड टू मेक श्योर कि तुम जाओ वापस, ये बच्चा देखोगी जब इसकी बहन आएगी। बट दिस वेरी वेरी, आई वुड नॉट से कि ये बहुत कॉमन था, 1 in a million, बट समटाइम यू हैव टू, उसको भी आपको डिग आउट करना होता है। सो द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग है, जो फ्रंट है, एक फ्रंट से बच्चा ही नहीं, दूसरा फ्रंट आपकी फैमिली भी, और आपसे ज़्यादा जो मल्टीपल फ्रंट्स हैं, असल जो जंग, जो ये वॉर है, दो पेरेंट्स है, पेरेंट्स वो जंग लड़ रहे हैं। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Professor Seema Qayyum, for a very enlightening and descriptive talk and touching those topics of and those parts of congenital cataract which most of the times we are missing, and they are as important as the technical aspects. The second presenter is Professor Mia Muhammad Shafiq Saab. He is a very, very senior ophthalmologist and pediatric ophthalmologist with keen interest in congenital cataract and strabismus. Sir, please.
And the way to do 360-degree this trabeculotomy is either through internal approach. You go internally inside the eye and do trabeculotomy, or either you go for eye care. कि आई केयर से आप 360 डिग्री करते हैं, उसका जो प्रोब होता है वो ब्लिंक कर रहा होता है, तो यू नो कि वेयर द पोर्ट इज गोइंग, दिस लाइट इज गोइंग, कि आप कोई ब्लाइंड पैसेज ना बनाए. Another blind procedure is to do 360 trabeculotomy with the 50 or 60 Prolene suture.
Yeah.
Which is again a blind procedure, have higher rate of complication. लेकिन मैंने 2-3 पेशेंट्स में ट्राई तो मैंने बहुत सारे पेशेंट्स में किया, लेकिन ये है कि जस्ट 2-3 पेशेंट्स में सक्सेसफुल हुआ. उसमें ये है कि जिसमें 360 डिग्री ट्रेबिकुलोटमी विद 50 प्रोलीन हुई है, तो उनमें आईओपी रिडक्शन काफ़ी कंट्रोल्ड है अभी तक, जो 2-3 मंथ्स का फॉलोअप है उसमें.
इसमें डॉक्टर
बट
नाज़रीन,
इट्स अ ब्लाइंड प्रोसीजर.
इसमें हम लोगों ने भी 2-3 दफ़ा ट्राई किया था, लेकिन प्रोलीन के साथ करने का एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि समहाउ में भी पता नहीं ये रेशियल प्रॉब्लम है या क्या प्रॉब्लम है, कि आप प्रोलीन जब उनके अंदर आइज़ के डाल के उसको 360 डिग्री एडवांस करते हैं, तो वो 180 से ऊपर आमतौर पर बहुत ही मुश्किल से जाती है, क्योंकि वो सॉफ्ट सूचर है ना, उसके मुकाबले में ट्रेबिकुलोटोम इज अ मेटालिक थिंग, तो वो इट इज मच इजी.
एडवांसिंग एंड जो है उसको ब्लंट होना चाहिए, अगर वो ब्लंट नहीं है तो फिर वो फंस जाएगा किसी ना किसी,
वो बहुत मुश्किल सा काम
ब्लंट उसको करना पड़ता है
करता ही
ना,
पड़ना
आप उसको कॉटरी से थोड़ा सा
करना
तो
पड़ता
वो
है,
उसका
जी.
एक बल्ब सा बन जाता है, लेकिन इट्स अगेन अ ब्लाइंड
It's-
प्रोसीजर. हमें नहीं पता हम अंडर जा तो हमने सही
but
रास्ते
it's
से
very
भेजा है,
successfully
लेकिन जा कहाँ रहा है,
but
we
it's
don't
very
know.
successfully being done in the world. It many centers with very good results. आप
eye
इसको
care से जो-
experience as you keep on going it, I hope the more you will get convinced that this is a good procedure. Anyway, we have revert back from glaucoma to cataract. The next talk I'll be presenting will be on the consensus guidelines for management of congenital glaucoma in Pakistan. Actually, this title came after a project given to me in my ICO Leadership Development Program in 2016-2017, where my project of research was development of consensus guidelines for management of congenital cataract in Pakistan. After the synopsis approval, this project has many phases. First, questionnaires were prepared, survey was done in whole of the country, analysis of the surveys were made, then a group discussion was arranged. Many of my colleagues must be remembering it. We did it in Peshawar. Preparation of the guidelines then made at international standards, and the document was then presented and printed. The national survey was evidence based and was conducted through SurveyMonkey, and 50 with having 40 questions, and this questionnaire was distributed throughout the country to 56 top pediatric ophthalmologists of our country, and we got 41 responses, on the basis of which we made analysis and then arranged the group discussion. These are the few ratios of the answer of different questions. The group discussion, after the analyzed data was presented in a planned face-to-face meeting of the top 15 members of the Association of Pediatric Ophthalmology in Pakistan in 2017 at a national conference in Peshawar. The data was rigorously discussed point by point, and the consensus were built with some addition and modifications. And the few of the slides I will show to you relating to that. The most common presentation seen in our CE was leukocoria, as observed by our pediatric ophthalmologist, and the second one was abnormal visual behavior, which means that roughly 95% of the presentation in congenital cataract was either white pupil or abnormal visual behavior of the child. When examination was performed, the tools which were preferred by them were slit lamp and the distant direct ophthalmoscopy, although the torch examination was also done, but the most preferred were these two. And it was preferred that the examination should be repeated after dilatation of the pupil as well. The role of the medical treatment in the form of dilating drop was observed by these ophthalmologists, and majority were in favor that if the opacity is less than 3 mm of the size, the dilating drops can be given and the child kept under observation for follow-up months and years. And dilating drop most commonly used by them were tropicamide and cyclopentrolate. All of them were of the opinion that motivation and education of the family was essential for the proper treatment of the children having congenital cataract. Aim of the treatment was, of course, all were agreed that the aim of the treatment should be removal of the cataract, then giving the optical correction and treat the amblyopia. The indication of surgery were, by all of them, majority 97+%, the majority of our pediatric ophthalmologists thought that if the opacity is more than 3 mm of the size and anywhere in any part of the lens, the child should be operated. When to operate? As early as possible, within the around the age of 2 years. If it is present at birth, और फिर अगर बाद में हो तो जितना जल्दी किया जा सके. Type of the anesthesia, almost more than 70% were in the favor कि general anesthesia ही उसके लिए चाहिए. General anesthesia की main form could be any, ketamine दे दें या किसी तरह से, लेकिन ketamine की बजाय ट्यूब के साथ. Surgical technique most commonly performed by them was the primary irrigation aspiration with primary interior capsulotomy and interior vitrectomy by the majority of the cases. If the age, the type of incision, majority like the valvular incision, either clear corneal or the sclerocorneal. And the anterior capsulotomy preferred technique was the CCC. The majority were in the favor that if the cataract is very white, the type in blue will help. Majority were of the opinion. When we asked about the role of the hydrodissection, the majority said that there is no much direct use of it, and rather in discussion we noted that if they were of the opinion, if the opacity is in the posterior part of the lens or posterior subcapsular or posterior capsular, do not go for the hydrodissection. The removal of nucleus by majority of them was done by irrigation aspiration, by cannula, and by the irrigation aspiration cannula, and few were in favor of the vitrector handpiece lens. Primary posterior capsulotomy, anterior vitrectomy, according to them, should be performed within the age of 4 years or 5 years, और उसके बाद करने की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं है. और अगर इफ टाइम ज़रूरत हो तो बाद में सेकेंडरी posterior capsulotomy की जा सकती है by YAG. Use of triamcinolone, yes, they were in favor के if you go for anterior posterior capsulotomy and anterior vitrectomy तो triamcinolone आप ऐड करें. Age at IOL implantation, there was not much controversy, but majority were of the favor के 1 और 2 साल की एज हो तो लेंस डालना चाहिए, less than 1 में avoid करना चाहिए. Type of the lens preferred by them was foldable multi-piece lens, and the power of the lens, adjustment for the power of the lens for the age, simple rule में अब आजकल तो biometric calculation, better calculation systems are available, but they gave the opinion that if the age of the child is 1 year or less, 30% reduction should be done in the calculated power. If the age is up to 2 years, 20%. If the age is above between 2 and 5 years, then at least 10% reduction, and after 10, no reduction. Preferred location for the implantation of the lens, as they said, should be in the bag of the lens. Intracameral steroid and the use of intracameral antibiotic was controversial. Few said can be done, the other were not in favor. Sealing of the wound, majority were in favor to apply 1-10-0 nylon stitch at the wound site. And the post-op antibiotics, majority said that should be given up to 4 weeks, and the steroids up to 8 weeks. Post-op refraction should be, according to them, be followed and done, repeated after every 6 months. And if there is need for the secondary capsulotomy, तो surgery के 6 months के बाद या 3 to 6 months के बीच में you can go for it. Amblyopia treatment, yes, and 97.5% people were in the favor that only the occlusion therapy could be enough for amblyopia treatment. How long should the follow-up be? Majority said that at least up to the age of 10 years, because rapidly changing refraction should be addressed and the child should not be left or discharged till the refraction becomes almost stable. So after passing through all these stages, this study was printed in PGO, and the OSP requested it to prepare the guidelines which were printed and handed over to the OSP, is available on the website. Thank you all for the kind attention.
So thank you so much for presenting the data of consensus guidelines for the management of congenital cataract in Pakistan. That will help a lot for us to decide and to mend our strategies of dealing the congenital cataract. The next talk is of Dr. Shabana Chaudhary. She will talk on anisocoria, a pitfall to be aware of.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, everyone. Though my topic is not aligned with the title of the symposia because it's the symposia of the pediatric ophthalmology surgery related, and my topic is from neuro-ophthalmology. I don't know what's it doing here. Anyways, I think that you'll enjoy a couple of cases which we come across in Mayo Hospital. Nothing to disclose. Please. ये इसी से आगे हो जाएगा. The learning objective is to identify the etiology of anisocoria, describe, and be able to describe the evaluation of a patient with anisocoria, and to outline the management options and proper referral. The story begins here. I prepared the presentation for actually the target audience, I suppose, was the PGs. So, anyone interested who could, what's going on and what have you noticed? Do you want me to repeat it? Okay, sure. ये दोबारा चला देंगे, ये कैसे होगा? ये वीडियो चला दीजिए. Concentrate at the pupil, please. Also, do the inspection. At the end of the video, I tried to do the extra oculomotor movements because the child was not very cooperative. Yes, anyone? Good. Okay, anything else would you like to do? You have examined anisocoria. Okay, there was no difference. Being an ophthalmologist, pediatric ophthalmologist especially, what else would you like to do? You observe a patient presented to you with headaches, with history of fall, and you noticed anisocoria. Yes, it's been done. Anything else? Before fundus. It's just that start from the basis. Okay, pupillary reactions, yes, it's done. The most important is the basic thing. We will do the visual acuity. VN तो check कर लें हम. Basic तो वहाँ से होती है. उससे पहले history, detailed history, and then the visual acuity. Okay. In the dark, you noticed. So if you assess the anisocoria, first assess the patient. Start from the history, do the ocular examination. Just don't try to Wales में या बाकी जगहों पे जो Google पे वो anisocoria चार्ट है कि डार्क में देखना है, लाइट में देखना है, पाइलोकार्पिन डालनी है, कोकेन है नहीं हमारे पास, वैसे तो है अवेलेबल, अगर अरेंज कर लें तो ये सारा कुछ नहीं सोचना. पहले हमने बेसिक्स स्टार्ट करनी है. डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज कि जी वो तो ये प्रोसीजर है anisocoria का, तो आपने आगे चलना है. anisocoria बिन सॉरी मेरे एक हाथ में एग्जामिनेशन के लिए वो था और दूसरे में कैमरा था, तो थोड़ा सा आपको वीडियो इतनी हाई क्वालिटी की नहीं आपको मिलेगी. इन द डार्क The left pupil was 4 millimeter, 3 millimeters. The right one was about 6. And then extraocular muscle movements were full. I'm trying कि वो लाइट ऑन कर दें. मैंने किसी कोलीग को कहा था कि लाइट ऑन कर दें, लाइट ऑन नहीं हो रही थी. ओके, सो हमारा यही होता है कि check the light reactions after doing the rest of the examination before dilatation. Check light reaction if an acidoria is greater in the light or the dark. If good light reaction in both eyes, then an acidoria will be more in dark or in the light. If it's in dark, then check for the dilatation lag. आपको लास्ट उसमें कि dilatation lag जो है वो आपको नहीं मिला. Sorry, slightly वो था. Physiological anisocoria or Horner syndrome as Miss Nazli predicted. और बाकी ये जो फार्माकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट है ना, ये किताबों के लिए हैं. हम सिर्फ पाइलोकार्पिन तक रहते हैं यूजुअली, इसलिए आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डिस्कस इट. अभी जो अगर हमने हॉर्नर्स डायग्नोज कर लिया है, रीज़न उसका जो है वो हमने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया है, तो रेफरल हमारा जो है, जो हमारी बेसिक लर्निंग है कि हमने प्रॉपर अर्जेंट रेफरल जो है वो करना है, और वो न्यूरोसर्जरी अकॉर्डिंग या न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट को भेजना है, पीडियाट्रिक न्यूरोलॉजिस्ट और न्यूरोसर्जरी को भेजना है, बिकॉज द चाइल्ड हैड द हिस्ट्री ऑफ फॉल फ्रॉम द रूफ. So we send the patient to neurosurgery for further management. वो अगर आगे वो करना चाहें कि हॉर्नस कौन सा था, प्री पोस्ट. ओके जी, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. वो आगे नहीं जा रही. So the question already I've asked, what else to look for. और ये इसकी केस हिस्ट्री है थोड़ी सी. डायग्नोसिस हमने बना लिया इसका. हॉर्नर सिंड्रोम जो है वो इट्स वेरी रेयर, अनकॉमन इन चिल्ड्रन, एंड दिस इज अनदर एनाइसोकोरिया. ये डार्क में है. लेफ्ट pupil is recting, small, right is dilated, almost fixed. What are you expecting? Could be. What else would you like to do next? First, we need to identify whether the anisocoria increases in the dark or the light. Patient presented with to A&E with a history of headaches and vomiting, and he was our old patient. He had been with us for the last 2 years, but for the last 3 to 4 months, and we were doing the amblyopia therapy to that child. Since late presented, 7 years की एज में प्रेजेंट हुआ था, 2 साल से हमारे पास था. ये इसकी इस साल जून की वो है. 3 महीने से इसको हेडेक और वॉमिटिंग हो रही थी, और फिर उसके बाद मदर जो है वो, क्योंकि फॉलोअप टाइम जो था उसका हमने 3 महीने का दिया था, शी वेटेड, आई डोंट नो वाई, कि उसको बच्चे को हेडेक्स हैं और डिफरेंट हेडेक्स हैं, और शी डिडंट कम अप टू आवर डिपार्टमेंट, बट शी प्रेजेंटेड in emergency a day before coming to our OPD. So, and interestingly, he was amblyopic in the left eye, and the pupil was dilated in the right eye. So these are something which you need to think about. The VN was 6'6", 6'18". Near VN was okay. And pupil you have already seen. जी जी, ये पैचिंग कर रहे थे जी. जी नहीं, हम पैचिंग कर रहे थे. गुड क्वेश्चन. हम पैचिंग कर रहे थे. दैट्स द कैच. बच्चा 9 years का. अब 9, मतलब जब हमने शुरू की थी एम्ब्लियोपिया थेरेपी तब वो था, और वो 624 से उसकी वीन इम्प्रूव होना 660 से उसकी विजन इम्प्रूव हो गई होना शुरू हो गई थी, इसलिए वी कंटिन्यूड इट. ओके जी. सर इट्स नॉट हॉर्नर्स जी. राइट आई डायलेटेड, लेफ्ट एम्ब्लियोपिक. Again, there is no history of trauma. He had been complaining of headaches for the last 3 months, presented with headache, vomiting, his echo, even he'd been through echocardiographic because he was saying that I'm having palpitations. और उसकी ECG में भी टैकीकार्डिया आ रहा था. और नो स्क्विंट. डार्क में जी. Yeah, the right pupil was dilated. He presented to us, he referred to us to ophthalmology because he was our patient, and we noticed that there was anisocoria. They actually sent us for fundoscopy because the patient was presented in A&E with headaches and vomiting. So they asked us to do the fundoscopy. They sent us for the fundoscopy, and we noticed that there was anisocoria. The right pupil was not reactive to the light, left was, yes. There was no reverse RPD. So that was me, and I didn't know what to do, what else to think about. I agree with Dr. Ramzan that it could be pharmacological according to the Will's Eye manual chart. But child denied any type of drops. He was the only son, and the mother was very conscious about his son, and even the father. So they hadn't have any atropine. No one in the family. No one in the family. No history of ocular trauma. Okay. What next? I quickly consult with the Professor Google. Fundus was normal. Nothing. The fundus was stable for this. I compared it because we do the detailed, we document in details. Pinole, well, yes, it was fixed dilated pupil. Quick consult with Professor Google, and I didn't come up with anything. I asked the parents to sit outside for dilatation because I dilated the other pupil to see the fundus to make sure that I'm not missing anything. In fact, my team not missing anything. Yes, it is pharmacological, but the reason is not atropine, not eye drops. Yeah, yes, yeah. So we did everything. It's a monocular dilatation. We did everything. Professor Google told me this. I even tried a pilocarpine, 1%, 0.125%. I didn't use. I used 1% atropine. उस वक्त मेरे पास वही थी. And it come up. It's a pharmacological. Went back. Asked the parents. Sent the child back to under the neurocare, just to make sure that if something happened, तो वो हम सब coordinate कर सकें. Even we urgent MRI arrange किया. Nothing come up, and I took 5 days to read around कि क्या हो सकता है, क्या नहीं हो सकता. After 5 days, the patient came in follow-up clinic, and the child said that he feels drowsy. That was not the after. और उसकी मदर ने कहा कि डॉक्टर साहब आपने जो दवाइयाँ डाली हैं उसके बाद ये ड्राउजी होना शुरू हुआ है, पहले नहीं था. नॉजियस वो कंटिन्यूस था, वो वॉमिटिंग हो रही थी लेकिन उसका नॉजिया ठीक नहीं हो रहा था. हेडेक्स सेटल हो गए थे, पीपल वैसे ही थे जैसे कि फर्स्ट हमने उस पर देखा था. बैक टू स्केयर 1. I thought that better to sit with the parents and to start talking about each and everything, what's happening for the last 3-4 months, anything new, what's happening for the last. I asked all the questions. Any asthma, any asthmatic person, any kid who's been on atropine or even 0.01% atropine for myopia, any history, family history of myopia, everything. And the father told me that the child started going to gym with father because he was the only son. He was getting older now. He wanted to accompany father. Father went to neighboring country. He bought herbal vitamins for his son. He started giving those vitamins. That was the only medication he was having for the last 3 months. And since then, he started having the headaches and bloody vein and all the things. And when I asked them to bring those medicine, and they brought it, and those medicine contain Jimson weed. One case been reported in 2005. There are other drugs as well, but unilateral, one case has been reported in 2005 in literature, and that was the outcome. And I asked them to stop those vitamins, and after 1 month, the child was fine. So, history, history, history. Take home message, good history, finding out the time of onset of anisocoria. Look at the old pictures if it can be helpful sometimes. Sit, revisit your history, and elicit if the child has been had any eye examination or any using any the family using any eye drops. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shabana. लेकिन मेरी एक query है. हाँ जी. Why was it unilateral?
Don't know that it's the something which was the catch, and it's been in the literature
not
in 2005. It's been mentioned in literature.
It's not understandable.
Yes,
Actually, it's not
yes,
understandable.
it's not understandable, but it's in literature mentioned. And when we stopped it, the medication, the people came back. मेरे पास वो वाली वीडियो एडिट नहीं हुई. मेरे पास वो भी वीडियो है. It's for last 2 years. Yeah, there was no scan. जब हमारे पास जब फर्स्ट इसका विजिट था, जब हमने एम्ब्लोपिया थेरेपी स्टार्ट की थी, ही वाज 7 years old, 9 years.
Yes. इस स्टोरी में कुछ जिक्सॉ पीसेस मिसिंग है. मतलब सिम्टम्स हैं, क्योंकि देखिए, हाँ जी, लेकिन मतलब ये हो नहीं सकता कि सिस्टेमिकली एब्जॉर्ब हो रही है एक ड्रग और वो एक ड्रग एक आई पे एक्ट कर
It's
रही है
in
दूसरे
literature mentioned. There are multiple papers on it. Asymmetry हो सकती है, unilateral हो सकता है. जी, the child is still having the amblyopia therapy, sir.
हाँ.
Yes. ये जो तकरीबन 3 to 4 वीक्स के बाद, अब मैं इसको वीकली देख रही थी. जी वो छोड़ दिए.
डॉक्टर शबाना, मेरी इसमें एक सजेशन है.
अब्बा की हो गई जी, अब्बा की दोनों ही.
हाँ जी. दिस इज द कैच. आई थिंक इसका लेफ्ट प्यूपिल एबनॉर्मल है, राइट इज नॉर्मल. राइट वो कर रहा है जो उसको करना चाहिए, लेकिन लेफ्ट इज नॉट डायलेटिंग. सो लेफ्ट प्यूपिल मस्ट बी क्लोजली ऑब्जर्व्ड. जी
एडीज नहीं था, एडीज नहीं था। वो उसका उसका ठीक थी।
एनी हाउ थैंक यू डॉक्टर शबाना।
इट्स अ केस, आप कुछ भी बहस कर लें। It was an interesting case which I wanted to share with all of
Dr.
you.
Shabana, thank
And
you so much. We are
Jim.
running short of time and I have to make a. लेकिन मेरा ये ख्याल है कि लेफ्ट आई प्यूपिल पे हमें क्लोज नजर रखनी चाहिए। वो क्यों नहीं नॉर्मल बिहेव कर रहा? राइट का बिहेवियर नॉर्मल है, लेफ्ट का बिहेवियर नॉर्मल नहीं है। ये भी हो सकता है कि उसकी कोई चीज बना के आंख में भी डाल लेता हो। जी सर, बच्चे जो है ना वो अपनी जो उनकी ओपनिंग्स है ना उसमें कुछ ना कुछ डालते रहते हैं। नाक में, कान में, गले में, आंखों में, हर जगह। अच्छा, थैंक यू डॉक्टर शबाना फॉर unfolding a beautiful and a truly mysterious कैसे कह जी mystery, truly mysterious mystery। अच्छा जी, एक अनाउंसमेंट भी है जो हमारे जनरल सेक्रेटरी हैं OSP के प्रोफेसर खाकान साहब की तरफ से, वो ये है कि बसेस रेडी होंगी 6 o'clock पे। we at this time is 5:45 and the buses will be ready for dinner at Lahore Fort। तो 6:15 पे बसेस चली जाएंगी। उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट की है कि जो डिनर पे जाना चाहे उधर लाहौर फोर्ट, तो वो 6 बजे ग्रैंड बाल रूम गेट नंबर A उस पे आ जाए। तो आप में से जो जाना चाहे सो वो जा सकता है। और अगली प्रेजेंटेशन है जी डॉक्टर उस्मान महमूद फ्रॉम UK। सो ही विल डिलीवर अ टॉक ऑन OCT इन पेपिलोडीमा। डॉक्टर उस्मान।
Thank you very much. I'm a pediatric ophthalmologist in the UK. I do a lot of things, and this particular talk comes from the times in COVID, and a little bit before that. The story is, as you know, in the UK, I don't know whether you're aware or not, but the referral base for all ophthalmology patients are the community opticians. The community opticians send patients to ophthalmology instead of the general practitioners. And there was a particular case in community in which the optician missed a unilateral disc swelling. Subsequently, that young lady, she was a teenager actually, about 14 or 15 years old. She subsequently was found to have malignant pathology in the brain and eventually died. And following on from that, a lot of lessons were learned. And I was actually at the time doing my fellowship in Moorfields when this happened. So I was involved in that investigation. But nationally in the UK, what happened was that the opticians developed a very low threshold for referring patients to ophthalmology. Anyone with suspect optic disc was referred into us. And we were inundated. Obviously, we have other things to do. We can't just keep on seeing children with suspected disc swelling. So we devised a method where, at least in my unit, where we gave most of the work to the allied professionals in ophthalmology, and only some of those patients would come and see us. So this was a history sheet that I wrote down in the form of a questionnaire and gave to our allied eye professionals who would screen the patients. And although, I mean, we're all interested in headaches, and we wonder, because the question is, does the patient have true disc swelling or does the patient have pseudo disc swelling? That's the question you want to answer, isn't it? Because you don't want to miss a brain tumor or even IIH for that matter. But it's not just the headache that's important. The main question is, when does the patient get the headache? A headache that the patient has on waking up is usually not relevant. People think that if I wake up with a headache, that means I've got a brain tumor. That's just not the case, because many people wake up with a headache. I frequently wake up with a headache, but I thankfully don't have a brain tumor. I at least think I don't. The issue is does the headache, the main question is, it's a specific question, does the headache wake you up in the middle of the night? If you're waking up early hours of the morning, like 4, 5 a.m., because of the headache, then whether it's a child or an adult, that is an ominous red flag sign. And then there are obviously the other signs. Are there any migrainous features? You know, do you hear any swooshing sounds? Is it related to posture? Is there any vomiting? Is the vomiting projectile? But by that time, they've usually been picked up. Now, visual obscurations is another very specific symptom. So you can, you know, people come in, they say they lose their vision and then it comes back. But the main question is, how long does that episode last? So for instance, if it lasts 40 minutes, we're talking about amaurosis, right? But if it lasts less than 30 seconds, and especially if it happens frequently, then that is an obscuration that I would be very, very worried about. There was I remember a pregnant woman came to see me with visual obscurations. She had no disc swelling. She had normal blood pressure, but she had PRES, you know, preeclampsia related reversible encephalopathy. And if I had not picked it up, the chances are she would have ended up with serious brain damage. So it is an extremely important sign that sometimes should, you know, guides you to the correct pathology. So visual obscurations are important, and many a times I've picked up children and young people because of that. I mean, I could tell you stories, but we don't have the time. And are there any other neurological features? So if it's an optic disc swelling associated with any other neurology, then I don't want to leave that with an allied health professional. I want to see that child myself. Double vision, of course, is one of the neurological features we'd worry about. Examination, we asked our allied health professionals to perform visual acuity on all of them, perform visual fields. Now, obviously, that is age dependent. You can't perform a visual field in 5 years old. Or not reliably anyway. Ideal is Goldman's. We are lucky to have a Goldman's, but not all centers in the UK have Goldman's. Eye movements and an orthoptic examination, because that's still allied health professional. They haven't come to see us. I will talk about autofluorescence. How many people in this hall have access to autofluorescence? So that's a very significant minority, but I'll tell you how that is extremely important. It's a vital test. And obviously color optos photographs, because we can then do remote clinics. You know, I could just look at the pictures at the end of my day before I go home, and I could tell which patient I need to see, which patient I don't need to see, and an ophthalmic examination. This is an OCT of the optic disc in 2 different patients at different stages of their life. We are aware of the, does this have a pointer? Okay. So you know that these are the different layers of the retina that you're aware of. And this is the division between the outer and the inner retinal layers is the PRE, the photoreceptor layer, which is where the fluid, in case of a retinal detachment, goes. That's where that is also the area where, if there was an optic nerve pit, for instance, an optic disc pit, the fluid, the serous fluid, would go into that area. But what we're looking at is the architecture between this layer and this layer. So that's the inner nuclear layer, and that's the outer layer, and in between, in the photoreceptors, this division where they meet up, that's what I'm interested in the morphology. So if you look, for instance, over here, that opens up. Over here, that's closed. So even if there was a pit and this was enlarged, this layer, this particular opening would not occur. That would still be closed. Those 2 layers would still come together and close off. That's where the Brooks membrane opens up, and these 2 layers would still close off as they approach the cribriform plate. But if they open up, like here it's opened up, and it's opened up, then that could be a true disc swelling. That's one of the features of a true disc swelling. But we'll talk about this morphology. So it could be that this layer is enlarged, but that could be serous fluid as opposed to true disc swelling. And then you can have these 2, but you might have these 2 humps, but the humps might not be a disc swelling. So we'll talk about that as well. So on the OCT, the scan that I ask for is a radial disc scan. I ask for this specifically. Most of the people who do OCTs on your optic discs are not even aware of this feature on the machine. So you have to specifically go and guide them on how to do it. They have to look for it, and they have to find out the radial disc scan. So once they get the radial disc scan, then you match the radial disc scan with the retinal nerve fiber layer thickness. That's the other. Those are the only 2 scans of OCT that you need. And combine that with an autofluorescence, then that's all you need if you've also examined the eye. And I'll tell you what to look for. As I explained, where does the inner nuclear, the photoreceptor layer, is it closing off or is it open? Here it's closed off, so that's beautiful. But you want to look at all the lines to see if it's not opening up in any of those radial lines. So that is a disc. What do you think about it? Is it swollen, or is it a pseudo disc swelling, or is that a true disc swelling? What does it look like? Well, the margins are a bit blurred. It's slightly difficult to say. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. In chronic disc swellings, that's exactly what a disc looks like. So if you have someone with IIH who is being managed for IIH, for idiopathic intracranial hypertension, you want to know whether their intracranial hypertension is increasing or not. You're not going to do a lumbar puncture on every one of them. The other problem with the lumbar puncture is, A, it depends on the person performing the lumbar puncture, whether they are even trained in doing the opening pressures properly or not, but also on the cooperation of the child. If they're really strained, then that could give you a falsely high reading. Or if they drain it too quickly, then it might give them a low reading. You see what I mean? So that is one of the features that I am definitely guided by, but that's not the only feature that we take into account. But yes, you're right. I mean, it looks more like pseudo than true. I agree with you totally. But which is why other modalities are important. And again, that's the other eye, same appearance, we're not too sure. So what image is this? So this is one of my patients. We know it's definitely not true disc swelling. It's a pseudo disc swelling. As you said, you picked it up correctly anyway. So well done. Yes, that's absolutely right. But you see how remarkable this is? This is a remarkable image, isn't it? So that's the benefit of autofluorescence. It is really useful. Now we have another one. What does that look like to you? So this one is pretty obvious. Actually, these are hemorrhages, but some of them don't have hemorrhages. So this is true disc swelling. But the reason why I put up these images is because, A, you don't want to scan everyone. MRIs are expensive everywhere in the world, plus MRIs have times. You know what I mean? If you're scanning everyone, then your local MRI department will not be able to scan the ones that really need to be scanned. Plus, you're fishing. The reason why I say you're fishing is because you don't know what you're looking for. Right? If you do an MRI that is guided by your clinical expertise, then you know exactly what to ask the radiologist to look for and what kind of a scan to do, which is another topic. You know, I mean, that is another pineal cysts I could mention, for instance. So these ones on the autofluorescence, that's what they look like. So the other thing on the autofluorescence, there is another feature. Not all OCT machines have it, but some do, which gives you a white circle in the periphery and a dark center in the middle. That is usually indicative of true disc swelling, as opposed to a slightly hyper, same as this, in the middle, and a dark in the surrounding area. So you have these two other modalities on the OCTs that you can get, which also reveal whether the disc swelling is true or whether the disc swelling is a pseudo. And that's another one which we're not certain about. So we get the OCT in this one, right? So in the OCT, as I mentioned, A, you've got the two humps, plus you've got this photoreceptor layer that's opened up. So now this image is very similar to the image you get because of optic disc drusens. In optic disc drusens, you do have some hyperreflective zones here, which in chronic disc swelling you can also have. So it's sometimes confusing. So there are a few, which is why you want to differentiate with the autofluorescence, right? But if the autofluorescence does not show you any disc drusen, and this is the picture you have on the OCT, and if this matches the retinal nerve fiber layer increased thickness, then that is definitely true disc swelling, even if it clinically doesn't look like it. Okay. So, which is why you need all the modalities, right? You need the OCT, you need to look at the eye, or either get an optos, plus you also need the autofluorescence. So if you have those modalities, autofluorescence, OCT, retinal nerve fiber thickness, and this, then almost always you can tell which patient has a true disc swelling and which patient has pseudo disc swelling. Hyperreflective. No, shadowing. Huh. It will do, but it's not always easy to see. What in this radial disc scan you're talking about? Yes, it's not always, you mean the shadowing over here? Yeah, yeah, you can see, if you see it, that's brilliant, but you don't always see it. It's not that easy. It depends on the density of the drusens. In children, drusens don't appear until they're older. You know that, don't you? Isn't it? So they might have drusens, but the drusens are not calcified. They're not that thick. So if they're under the age of 10, it's really, we're not talking about adults here anyway, although these modalities would still be useful in adults, but we're talking about the pediatric age group, which is what this was particularly devised for. We have also presented this paper in the Royal College. And it is nationally changing guidelines now on how to have remote clinics without actually having to see patients, because otherwise it was a huge burden on our service, and we couldn't afford it. So that's the other eye. Sorry, question? Sorry, Mr. So this is the retinal nerve fiber layer, thickness, OCT, which I think everyone has seen. Is that right? The RNFL thickness. So you can see that this is pretty much okay. You can see the line. It's within margin. Obviously, in children, it's going to be a little bit thicker than in adults anyway, because they have a higher thickness of retinal nerve fiber layer, although there's no nomogram. But if you've seen enough, you would know that this is pretty much normal. So I'm not really worried about this particular RNFL thickness. But what I wanted to say is, if this black line was going somewhere like that, then you would know that that area is thick, right? That area of the RNFL is thick. Then you find out which quadrant it is. So if it's that quadrant, then you go back to the OCT and you see whether in that quadrant, on that particular line, you know, it was a line scan. You remember, it was a line scan. On that line, if this is the image you get, and you've got this opening here in the photoreceptor layer, then that means that in that area there is swelling, which is true, which is the one you want to see. You don't want to see gross swelling, because that's very easy to identify, isn't it? You want to see the early disc swelling. So do you understand what my approach is? You see what I mean? It's very straightforward. That's another one which is definitely not pseudo, because there is no, it's not drusenoid because you can't see the drusen. But, and this is what it looks like on Optos. And this is what it looks like on this scan. That's the, yeah, I know, you could do that. Optos I use because that's the one I have, right? But Optos is also useful because my other interest is retinal dystrophies. So for Optos is very, very useful for that. The autofluorescence is very useful for retinal dystrophies as well. But we're not talking about that. But yes, I agree, any form of optic nerve imaging, if you can capture the photograph, that's brilliant. Anything you can do, even the cameras you can put on iPhones, you know, so anything that you can capture, that would be great. But what you do need is, you also, because then you don't have to see the patient. If you can see the patient, you don't need the image, right? You need those Optos images for retinal dystrophies, because even though you can see them, you can't see them in the color that you want to see them. The autofluorescence definitely you need for all kinds of patients, but and then the OCTs, which, I mean, I don't perform disc OCTs. You have to remember that, you know, in a busy clinic, if you ask your OCT technician to do everything for every patient, then you won't have the time to do the OCT in macular disease, for instance, right? There is a burden. Even if they have two OCT machines, you have a wet AMD clinic going on, or a diabetic retinopathy clinic going on, plus you have your own clinic going on. You can't ask every child to get all kinds of scans done, right? So you have to target what scan in which child, and I mean, in the whole clinic, you'll probably ask for 2 or 3 scans. Per day, you'll ask for maybe 5 or 6, because that is a drain on the service everywhere. You know, so that's.
We are running short of time, and you are left with 30 seconds.
Well, then I'll end now. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you look at the retinal nerve fiber layer, especially in advanced drusens, you will have retinal nerve fiber thinning as opposed to retinal nerve fiber thickening. So you have to look at the retinal nerve fiber layer in addition to these images. I mean, this is proper disc swelling. You can see that anyway, but I don't have the time. As you can see over here, that is really thick, isn't it? So, but we don't have the time to go through all of these. This is resolved disc swelling. Do you see that hyperreflective zone? That's very common in resolved disc swelling. And this is again the same patient 6 months after a VP shunt. Okay, so this is just another thing I've thrown in there because we were talking about pediatric glaucoma. This is a 13 years old boy who came to my clinic because he had unilateral eye redness and a headache. Because he had a headache, we asked for the OCT as well. And this is what we found in the OCT, and that's what the optic nerve looks like. What do you think? Any takers? What do you think this is? Sorry? So in which disease do you get retinal nerve fiber thinning? So this is unilateral in a 13 years old. Do you want to know what the pressure is? The pressure is 14 in the other eye, 28 in this eye. Yeah, so there's no reason for him to have unilateral glaucoma. The eye is red. And this is what we get on the Schlem's canal. This is a gonio image. What do you see? What's that? Yeah. No, not Sturge-Weber. There's no Sturge-Weber sign. This is blood in the Schlem's canal. It's a very good image, isn't it? And this was idiopathic. No. No, sure. This was, we investigated everything. We even did an MRI. We looked for any fistulas. But this was idiopathic, increased, elevated episcleral venous pressure, which is just something I threw into the mix. But the patient didn't have Sturge-Weber. Did not have any other condition, which is why it was idiopathic.
I'm afraid the time is finished.
Yeah. But then you do have the blood in the Schlem's canal. There is a positive finding. You know that there is elevated pressure in the episcleral system. Yeah. I know, but this was always the case, and not in the other eye. This was, the image I took after I'd already done the gonioscopy. Then I took him to my camera, my intersegment camera, and then I took this image again, there was blood. And then we repeated the gonioscopy again. But the issue is that the other eye did not have it. And there was unilateral conjunctival injection as well, so it was red, that eye. And the pressure was definitely raised. So this is all definite episcleral raised pressure. The question is, why is there elevated episcleral pressure? Is it raised because there is a fistula, or is it raised because there is no cause? As there was no cause, it was idiopathic. And then we referred him to one of the 2 glaucoma centers in the country, who then put a bevel tube in. And they also agreed with the diagnosis that it is idiopathic elevated episcleral venous pressure. That's the only one I've ever seen. But you have to practice pediatric ophthalmology for 20 years before you can go through the book once. And then you have seen all the patients.
Dr. Usman, I'm extremely sorry, but you have to leave now because we have still 3. No one is going to take more time now. Dr. Ajmal, he is the next presenter and he will give a talk on biometry and choice of IUL in pediatric cataract surgery. I would like to request you all, please stick to the time because a lot of people are sleeping and we don't want all the people to sleep. And they have a lot of things, other things to do. And the buses are also ready and I've still got another call from General Secretary. So we should hurry up. And Dr. Ajmal, biometry and choice of IUL in pediatric cataract surgery.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। तमाम तारीफ़ें अल्लाह के लिए जो खालिक़े कायनात हैं, लाखों करोड़ों दुरूद सलाम हुज़ूर पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम पर जो वजह तख्लीक़ कायनात हैं। This is the beautiful view of my college where I am working. I am Muhammad Ajmal, looking after the pediatric ophthalmology department there at Sheikh Zayed Medical College, Rahim Yar Khan. Today I will talk about biometry and choice of IOL power in pediatric cataract surgery. So far as the challenges in pediatric biometric calculations are concerned, the growth of the eyeball is not complete in children and the corneal curvature is changing. An eye having cataract may not grow like an adult eye, and the IOL power needs to produce emetropia are extremely high. यूजुअली जब हम बायोमेट्री करवाते हैं तो ये 28, 29, 30, 32 तक के डायोप्टर पार आ रही होती है हमारी. सेकेंडरी ग्लाकोमा बच्चों में बहुत कॉमन है। इफेक्टिव ग्लाकोमा जो ही हम सर्जरी करते हैं तो दे एंड अप विद द एक्सेलरेटेड ग्रोथ ऑफ आई बॉल ड्यू टू सेकेंडरी ग्लाकोमा। वो भी बायोमेट्री के और पोस्ट ऑफ हमारी रिफ्रैक्शन के ऊपर असर डाल रहा होता है। रेजिजुअल एम्ब्लियोपिया ऑफ इफ अनट्रीटेड और अनकरेक्टेड विल लीड टू एम्ब्लियोपिया। वेरी यंग चिल्ड्रन विल नीड sedation और जनरल एनेस्थीसिया फॉर बायोमेट्री। ये भी एक डिलेमा है हमारे लिए कि बायोमेट्री करते वक्त हमें ये चाहिए जनरल एनेस्थीसिया। व्हेन measuring axial length, smaller errors will result in bigger errors in IOL calculation for children. In the normal phakic child, there is a little change in refraction because the power of the natural lens decreases dramatically as the eye grows axially. An IOL placed in child's eye cannot change in power too much the growth of the eye. An IOL chosen for emmetropia in early childhood is likely to leave the patient highly myopic in adulthood. ये भी बच्चे की आई की ग्रोथ के साथ ही सारी चीज़ें हमें केयर करनी है, देखनी है। अब इसके नुकसानात जो हम पिटफॉल्स हैं उसकी तरफ देखें तो कॉर्निया ऑफ अ चाइल्ड इज़ सॉफ्टर एंड ईजीली इंडेंटेड। बायोमेट्री करते वक्त most of our centers do not have IOL master and portable IOL masters, and for kids we have to do the manual biometry. In sedated or anesthetized patient, it's more difficult to direct probe to fovea. बच्चा फिक्सेट नहीं करेगा, sedated है या anesthetized है तो हम बायोमेट्री के लिए foveal fixation नहीं दे सकते। In unilateral cataract cases, there may be asymmetry in the size of eyes, so accuracy of biometry is more difficult to check. जो रूटीन वाला हमारा SR के फार्मूला है वो इन्फेंट्स में, बच्चों में फिट नहीं आता। जो ये वाले फार्मूले हैं हॉफर क्यू, एवरेज, हॉलीडे, SRKT, ये हमें अप्लाई करने पड़ते हैं। So far as the growth of the eye is concerned, the growth of the eye follows a logarithmic curve. The greatest change is पहले 2 सालों के अंदर होती है बच्चे की ग्रोथ आई के अंदर। The refractive growth continues up to the age of 20 years. The axial length increases from the average of 16.8 millimeter at birth to 23.6 millimeter in adulthood. K reading decreases from an average power of 51.2 diopter to 43.5 diopter. Aphakic children eyes have an average myopic shift of 10 diopter from infancy to adulthood. In contrast, the refraction of a normal eye changes much less, approximately minus 0.9 diopter. The natural lens power decreases dramatically as the eye grows. The lens in child's eye has much steeper radii of curvature as compared to adult. When it is removed from the eye surgically, a very high hyperopia is left behind. Thus, the quantity of hyperopia of a child's aphakic growing eye decreases with time, just as the power of natural lens decreases with the time. The eye of aphakic and pseudophakic children have a similar growth curve with a slightly lower rate of refractive growth in pseudophakic eyes. And there is an evidence in the literature that early cataract surgery may slow the growth of both monkeys and human eyes. Effect of growth on IOL position. With this all background, if you consider that then the pseudophakic eye जब grow कर रही होती है, the distance from the IOL to the retina increases. This effectively moves the focal point of the IOL anterior in the eye. This leads to increase the effective power of the IOL. A high power IOL placed can result in substantially greater myopic shift than a lower IOL owing to optics alone. अगर हम सिर्फ इसी को कंसीडर करें ऑप्टिक्स को ही। The ideal goal is to end up in emmetropia as a result with good visual acuity. The IOL power choice is only one step in the path to this goal. The surgeon should choose an IOL power that will help achieve the ideal to the greatest extent possible. This should also include amblyopia management and refractive correction with glasses and contact lenses. An IOL power can be chosen to make the eye either emmetrope, hypermetrope or myopic. It is better to leave the eye moderately hyperopic, anticipating a growth in the size of eyeball, ultimately ending up with near to the emetropia. Usually मैं इसी को फॉलो करता हूँ. मेरा एक्सपीरियंस यही है कि थोड़ा सा आप पोस्ट आप हाइपरोपिया रखें जो कि आने वाली एज में एक्सियल मायोपिया के साथ एज के साथ इसको कम्बेट कर लें. Tables can be used for selecting IOL power as an initial starting point, but eye may not grow normally, more common with the very short or abnormal eyes. Low myopia is useful for near work without correction, but hyperopia and moderate to high myopia require correction with contact lenses or glasses. These are the tables from age matched with desired hyperopia which you want post operatively, and they can be later on adjusted with the growing age. So far as the choice of appropriate IOL power is concerned, it's a multifactorial decision customized for each child based on age, laterality, amblyopia status, likely compliance with the glasses, family history of myopia. When implanting IOL in children with bilateral cataracts and no amblyopia, leaving mild, moderate, or even a marked amount of hyperopia is reasonable. However, in unilateral cataracts with dense amblyopia, less early dependence on glasses may help the amblyopia treatment. The late myopia, even if marked, may be acceptable trade for better visual outcome from amblyopia treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. डॉक्टर अजमल, आपने सबका दिल जीत लिया है. आपने अपने 10 मिनट्स में से आधा टाइम लिया और उसको बड़ी जल्दी जल्दी रेलिवेंटली सारे पॉइंट्स भी मिस नहीं किए और बहुत अच्छा डिस्कस किया है. सो आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट नाउ डॉक्टर अली अल शेख. ही विल गिव अ टॉक ऑन को एग्जिस्टिंग कंजेंटल ग्लाइकोमा एंड CHED, अ सोर्स ऑफ कन्फ्यूजन. डॉक्टर अली अल शेख.
This is first an introduction about CHED, congenital hereditary endothelial dystrophy. This is a rare bilateral diffuse clouding of the cornea described by Lawrence in 1863, with cornea clouding range from mild haze to glaucoma class milky appearance. This is here the appearance of the cornea is usually total cornea around 2 to 3 times of the normal cornea. Before was calcified as CHED1 and 2, CHED1 as autosomal dominant, present after the first year of age, bephoria, photophobia, non-nystagmus, more clear cornea with less cloudy cornea and better visual acuity. And CHED2, this is autosomal recessive, present at birth, no bephoria and photophobia, with the child with nystagmus and cornea clouding. This cloudy cornea more advanced and visual acuity usually worse. Later, by the ICD-3, this calcified is no CHED1 on this is because is no distinct entity on this is overlap with BBCO, posterior polymorphic corneal dystrophy, and now only we have CHED2. Usually the treatment BKB or the DASIK, but should be take care that the visual prognosis usually with the CHED is better what you see for the cornea. Sometimes they feel the cornea is very bad and the visual acuity is good for that, not to go hurry up on for the surgery for this child. But our problem, this point, coexisting on this approved there, CHED associated with congenital glaucoma. You know, CHED, no enlargement for the cornea, pressure is normal, the thickness of the cornea 2 to 3 times, compared to congenital glaucoma, there is enlargement for the cornea, high IOP, the cornea thickness may be normal or thicker, and after that go to the normal after controlling the pressure. And this is approved by many studies. This study, this is diagnosed 3 cases and only concluded that this combination should be suspected where persistent and total cornea opacity failed to reach after normalization of IOP. On this study also approved this coexisting by only after pathology and BKB for the child. Let me go with these 2 scenarios and inshallah I will be strict in time. This is a child referred for congenital glaucoma. You see here the finding. I make the pressure here with the new, usually after anesthesia, with pneumotonometer, with Perkins, and with Tonopin. I'll measure with the three. The average was 17, 16. The cornea thickness is around 900. The axial length 18.13, 18.3. This is in the normal age for this child. For that was my impression. This is a CHED plus minus a glaucoma, because the cornea thickness, the corneal diameter is higher than the normal, on the axial length is the normal. Said this is the 17 is for this age less higher. Let me start with timolol and dorzolamide and see after 6 weeks. See after 6 weeks, is a dramatic change in the axial length, around 2.5 millimeter in 6 weeks only, and also change it in the optic nerve. Still the pressure under the medication in the normal, slightly increased for the corneal diameter. For that, I go directly and see this surgery and go to for the surgery and diagnose as glaucoma plus minus CHED converted now. I did the surgery for the left eye first. See after 1 week only, all the parameter is a change. Decrease the cornea thickness, the pressure, the axial length, and increase for the right eye. Even this is with the cornea thickness is decreased, and say this is 100% is congenital glaucoma, but still is maybe this is also associated with the CHED. I will not go for the surgery, but look here, that's the pressure for the right eye, how it increased for the right eye on control of the surgery. Let we save time. Look here, after 1 year after the surgery. Total normal cornea, all parameters go to the normal. At this time, I diagnosed this is only congenital glaucoma, no CHED. All the parameters go with the normal parameter and normal growth for the child. Let me see. This is here, everything in the normal limit for this child, even with UBM for the fundus UB scan. Let we go to another scenario. Look for this child. This another cell. This is the corneal thickness here, around 1,200, and the cornea diameter also higher. The pressure also higher. For that, I diagnosed this is maybe CHED, but that's 100% this with congenital glaucoma. For that, I got surgery for the left eye and the right eye. Look here, the child. I make slow motion. There is nystagmus in both eye, and with this is a cloudy cornea at the both side after under microscope, under anesthesia. Look here, the parameter. This is after 3 months from the surgery. Still, the axial length is in the normal range. The pressure, I cannot realize for the pressure. The problem, the cornea thickness decrease, but still around 2 times more than 2 times from the normal cornea. And see here the finding. This is the cornea up. On the cornea heel up after 6 weeks is more clear, but still is not normal, abnormal congenital glaucoma. You feel the congenital glaucoma is the cornea more clear. For that, I make that follow-up. This is for the both eye. And he said this is 100% I am with the CHED and plus congenital glaucoma. Let me see, because this, I have very cooperative child now. See, this child is very cooperative, 2 years now. Make all the investigation. Still, I am confused if that's congenital glaucoma with the CHED or not. See the visual acuity, 630 at the both eye with myopic, but still the cornea is more than 1,000. Because I have very cooperative child, this is for the UBM, but look, the child sitting on the specular, 2 years and sitting and take picture for the specular, but we know this is specular, cannot analyze in CHED. They cannot take the picture for the endothelium. If you see, you can see some cells, but is 100% is not realized, and you cannot confirm the diagnosis and specular. But because I have a cooperative child, I try Pentacam. This is the picture that you cannot find in any reference. This is picture for Pentacam in this child 2 year, 100% here for the cornea. You find the cornea. See, the corneal 1,600, 1,700, all the cornea in the same thickness in all area, and see the Pentacam is one level. And this is confirmed for congenital glaucoma, for CHED but still I am confused. I cannot exclude if you this is the follow-up. The axial length is a growth on the pressure also because no reliable measurement. Still I am confused. Should decrease the pressure more or not? And this is the problem with this co-existing for these two disease. And see here, this is the last investigation before 3-4 weeks. I make here the magnification with the red reflex and the Lumira, no facial interest. And see here the endothelium, the epithelium, nothing, but you see something in the endothelium. And this is confirm also the diagnosis with the CHED, but still I am confused with the glaucoma. And my message here, CHED diagnosis should be considered in any patient presenting with severe hazy cornea as a concurrence with congenital glaucoma. Also, if the child is cooperative, can make difference. Thank you, and thank you also for my cooperative child. Thank you. Before surgery, you cannot. If you can confuse on this, well, go with the glaucoma, should make the surgery.
Sometimes patients present with advanced disease, advanced glaucoma. So even after surgery, after IOP lowering, still there is hazy cornea.
No, the hazy cornea is different. You find the cornea is more clear, and the cornea thickness is decreased. You didn't find is total clear, total thickness of the cornea. Measure the cornea in many areas. You find the cornea in the central is different from the periphery. But in CHED, you didn't find that. You find, as this is fine picture for pentagram. This is very chance is 2 years sitting on the pentagram and take very good picture to diagnosis in pentagram. No difference at all in the same color on one level on the keratoconus curve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali Al-Sheikh, for very elaborately highlighting this confusing scenario of combined glaucoma, which coexists in congenital and CHED. So the last presenter is Dr. Saima Meen. She will talk on glaucoma after pediatric cataract surgery.
I think we're all very tired. We're full of too much information. I basically have nothing very special or very new to share. Just I'll rapidly go through a few points. Okay, so this 8-week-old child comes to us with bilateral congenital cataract, and we perform surgery. And a few months later, child seems to be doing well. We as pediatric ophthalmologists are very, very happy. But then a few more months later, this child comes with a prominent left eye, and the parents are complaining the child is throwing off glasses and there's change in prescription. And so guess what? This eye is not only developing glaucoma, we have so many battles to fight. We have to talk about IOP control, amblyopia, what lens will you put in, and where are we going to go from here? So yes, it's very confusing. Literature, we have already discussed that the rate of glaucoma after pediatric surgery is highly dependent on multiple factors, and specifically age. This is our data, and we saw the same thing. The lesser, the smaller the child, the higher the chances of developing glaucoma. With my experience is that ultimately all children have to undergo trabeculectomy. Angle surgeries don't do well. Unfortunately, we don't have glaucoma drainage devices, so we have to rely mostly on trabeculectomy. So the most important thing is identifying risk factors before surgery: small age, poorly dilating pupil, colobomas or anterior segment anomalies, trauma, subluxated lenses or a PHV. All of them can be responsible for, can be predisposing factors. So the important points are to have good preoperative techniques, not leave behind any lens matter, make sure that you use an AC maintainer, and then when you do a posterior capsulotomy, make sure you don't leave behind any uterus tags. And then when you talk about IOL implantation, of course you have to measure the corneal diameters, because you don't want any clouding. Postoperatively, what we face is basically, the inflammation or subluxated lenses. Children not ready to put in the drops, and they're like all crying, squeezing, and squeezing out all the drops. So again, that is challenging. What I like to do for my patients is maintaining this chart right from the next day and from before surgery so that I have my baseline parameters, and we've already discussed about all of this earlier. So early detection is important so that you can pick changes on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saima. That was the last talk, and I would like to thank you all for active participation and for putting in lot of energies to this session, although it was quite lengthy, and sometimes I was feeling that the people are sleeping and getting bored, but still with lot of energy you people make this session a great success, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope the best for you all. Have a nice day, and if there are any questions, please ask those questions. चले जी आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जी, थैंक यू सो मच, और आप सब लोगों का भी बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने हमारी बहुत हेल्प की है और इस सेशन को कामयाब बनाया है. थैंक यू जी, अल्लाह हाफिज़. साउंड स्लीप एंड स्वीट ड्रीम्स.